All right, guys, so we're getting ready to go in, and we're going to be talking about scopes of work today. So what does it take in order to develop a scope of work for a house that is in need of repair? And how do we correctly do that with correct pricing, but also making sure that we're not missing anything? So over the years, I've been able to develop a scope of work that I utilize, that you have in front of you right now, that highlights almost every aspect of what is needed as a repair to a property. Does it have everything 100%? No. But that's why we have a room for other there in case something special comes up with a property. However, as we're going through, we can read that at the beginning, one of the first things that we're doing and we're accounting for, if we're doing a full gut renovation, are what? Permits and plans. But not only, and I would do this as a sidebar, but not only is it going to cost us money, but it's also going to cost us time. So many times we think, oh, we're going to get this job done in 60 days. This is a home run 60-day renovation. But we didn't anticipate that the city of Tampa right now is 3 months before they'll review a plan, or then they'll kick it back, and then it has to go and review. And if it wasn't done correctly, now it's turned into 6 months. So you've got a house sitting there for 6 months that you can't do anything with. That stinks. And if you only accounted for, when you're doing your numbers, for 4 to 6 months of holding costs, and now you're going maybe double that, what did that just do to your ROI? So it's doing it doing it correctly from the beginning, because there's also plans and permits that don't take that much time. If we're not moving any walls around and we're not adding any square footage, we don't need plans. It's just a floor plan. Well, that permit's going to go through a lot faster because it doesn't have to go through plan review. Oh, and there's also a third caveat to that, where we can actually bring in private provider, and they can do private provider, and they'll analyze the plans for you, sign off on it, because they have the ability to do that. And then they can handle your inspections as well. So there's ways to get around and speeding that up, but we just got to know that we need it. And that comes from looking at the property and saying, okay, this looks like way more than just a cosmetic renovation. And we're going to be able to figure that out as we're going through our scope of work. So the next line below is design. Moving forward, in a lot of the higher end properties that we do, we bring on a designer. Trends are changing. Design changes. We want our houses to sell as fast as humanly possible. Speed in this business allows us to be successful, and that much more successful. When we're putting a house on the market, it's correctly designed, it looks really, really good, and somebody walks in and they're like, because it's staged and everything is beautiful, this is my house, I want it. And then now the house isn't sitting there for 30 plus days with no showings, because the pictures look great. Now they're coming to the house looks great, and somebody's like, I want to make an offer on it. So design and staging are something that we do on every one of our flips. Design and staging, and it comes to market 100% complete. Not 50% complete, it's 100% complete. Sometimes and I used to do this. I was very, I did it myself, where the house is 95% done. There's a few things left, but I was in such a hurry to get it on the market that I wanted to take pictures, and I tell James, just go ahead and list it. And then all of a sudden we get 3 or 4 showings in that first day. The house isn't done, and that could have been my buyer right there. That first buyer could have been my buyer. Now, don't do that at all. House has to be immaculate, 100% ready before one person walks through there. It's that first impression. That first impression. So
you get your most views those first few days when you put it up. That's when you get your most eyeballs.
You know how many? I've actually been going through this recently, because we've been looking at some offers from some guys that are listing them on the MLS, flippers, and you see paint cans in the corner, blue tape still up. No, the appliances are sitting in boxes and not even in the kitchen yet, because they're rushing through the process. So as we look through, we have to anticipate that when we're putting together our budget, we're putting together our scope of work, that we're being meticulous with what we're doing and giving ourselves time for that, because design is going to add another 2 weeks to your project timeline. Staging is going to add another 3 or 4 days to the back end of your project. Then we start to really dial in to say, okay, we've now put into our scope these different external things that we're going to do. Now, what is it that the property needs? Looking at an example of this property right here, I haven't personally been there to see it. However, just from this picture, the paint doesn't look so bad on the outside. That's not great. So now we have a portion on here for exterior repair. So if I saw this and I'm looking at now, I know there's a problem with the stucco, and that's why it's waived. So if for anybody that has never stuccoed a property before, there's a wire mesh that has to be correctly attached to the outside of that block before any of the concrete or cement stucco can go on the outside of it. When that is not done correctly, here's what happens. It starts to shift and pull away and move, and over time with the heat and the weather conditions in Florida, it cracks and it moves around like this. So what's going to have to happen, that whole side right there is going to have to be pulled off and redone. So exterior repairs, that's something that we're noticing already just based off of this picture. Once that's done, in order to try to match that paint, it's going to be very difficult. And maybe this isn't the only spot. So if we have to do it in multiple spots, now it's probably going to be beneficial to paint the property completely. So we've got interior and exterior paint as part of the scope of work. And as we're going down, now we're looking at exterior repair, exterior paint. So these are two items that we're going to want to budget for. We keep going in.
Are you going to be able to go through some of your computations on?
Yes. Yep. First, and so the way that I like to do it first is develop the scope. What's needed? Once I know, I've been to the property, I've walked it, or I'm basing it and doing it off of pictures, and I've run through all the pictures, now I can determine exactly what needs to be done to it. Then I'll go back and I'll base it off of square footage, or preferably it's going to the property and measuring. Measuring the perimeters, or we're going to get into that. Measuring the perimeter of the property, because once you measure the perimeter, it gives you so much of the information that you need for the inside of the house, plus how to calculate paint and all that. So we're going to go through that as well. Inside, it's kind of hard to tell from this picture, but it does look like, I mean, those are dated floors. Depending on the strategy for this property, if it's going to be a rental and those floors are in good shape, they might not be the most attractive floors, but maybe there's ways to color match and make the walls feel brighter, or change the wall color to make those floors a little bit more attractive, but then we don't have to replace them. Do you guys think tenants really care about your floors?
That's actually what I'm kicking around right now.
Right? Do you think tenants really care about all these beautiful, I mean, it could sometimes influence the price depending on the area, but we've got to be, depends on location. Absolutely, it depends on location. So in this specific property, I might just say, hey, those floors, if they're in good shape, they might look great. Maybe we just put new baseboards and change the color of the walls, because that just seems like it's kind of dark, right? Maybe we line up the walls, we put a nice white 6-inch baseboard, and we saved ourselves from having to redo the floors, and we still get the same effect of it looking clean, you know, open, and ultimately giving us a better budget on our scope and less items that we have to do. Next to that would be, if I'm in this property and I'm looking at it, it does look like it has some texture up at the top. I can't tell what it is, or the wall, but that's another thing. We always, if we have popcorn, that's gone.
The only popcorn is in the one bathroom. They got rid of it at the rest of the house.
Yeah, so I'm always looking at the different type of textures. These walls, if they seem smooth and they're flat, we got to understand that if we're going to go back in with that same type of texture, we're making any modifications, we've got to skim it. We've got to try to match it. And so how good are we going to be at matching that? Sometimes it can happen depending on the extent of framing and demo that we're doing, but in other cases we can't. So what's a solution to that is coming back in and saying, okay, we've got a heavy knockdown on the ceiling, which is kind of what's common right now, but maybe we go with a light orange or a light texture on the walls. That covers any modifications that have been made. That covers any inconsistencies of drywall over time. that kind of covers up a lot and it still looks good. Not that we're trying to cover up any issues, we're covering up any cosmetic visual issues by doing that, spraying some light orange texture, and now you don't see a lot of the efficiencies that could have been there before. So on this one in particular, let's say that we're going to be scraping the ceilings, going in with knockdown texture, and then we're doing orange on the walls, orange peel. Then we're looking at trim. We just talked about that. We're going to keep those floors, and we're going to go with a 6-inch base. As you continue to go into the scope of work and keep rolling down, now it's bathrooms. So this particular property has how many bathrooms, James? 2 bathrooms. Let's see if we can get a picture of the bathroom. There's a better picture of the living room.
Yeah, floors are actually pretty solid.
Yeah, our floors don't seem bad.
I'm kicking around the idea.
Okay, no pictures of the bathrooms, but either way,
I might have you separate.
that's okay. So if we're looking at bathrooms, this has 2 bathrooms. Let's anticipate that both bathrooms have to be renovated completely. What does, and this is again for us to know and write down, because here it says just hall bathroom, bathroom 1, bathroom 2, master bath, but it's what exactly has to be done in the bathroom. Is there a vanity that needs to be changed out? Well, if you're changing out a vanity, you're changing out a faucet probably. You're making sure that the plumbing underneath is up to date and CPVC and, you know, the proper plumbing underneath it. Then you start going up and, okay, well, if it's an older mirror, are we putting in a new nice framed mirror? And then from the mirror, now we have a light. So we got to think about, okay, now we've got electrical. But wait, where's my GFCI? Do I have a GFCI? Well, then maybe there isn't. Now we're running a GFCI to have that next to the vanity or next to any wet area. Then now we're spanning around. What is that toilet? Is it cream? Is it a 1980 gold toilet? I don't know, right? But that's probably got to be switched out. Then over to the bath or tub. New tub. Do we have to put a new tub in? Tile surround. Do we go in with maybe just a one piece, an all-in-one because it's a rental plastic, right? There's a lot of different options with that. So it's for us to go in and say, okay, here's one bathroom. I'm not just going to put it up. What has to be done in that bathroom? Are we running, if we're doing all new flooring, LVP or tile throughout the whole house, is that going into the bathrooms or are the bathrooms different? Are we just tiling? So now I'm taking a measurement of just my bathroom floor. Then my tile that I have to do on the walls. Now I'm taking into consideration vanities, mirrors, light. What about accessories? Toilet paper holder, towel holder. So getting it granular. Oh, and then by the way, if I'm looking up, do I need a light over my shower? Do I need a fan? Do I have a window? If not, I need an exhaust fan.
But essentially not an email.
Yeah, is there an exhaust fan in there? So all these things, we want to be as detailed as possible when we're going into the description. And that's by going to the property and saying, okay, I need a vanity, I need a toilet, boom, boom, boom. Because then, now that we have once we have this completely filled out, then we can start putting prices to it and pricing to it to then develop, hey, okay, this is going to cost us this amount. So it's being very thorough when it comes to the details and the specifications behind each room. And it's kind of, you're just walking each room. You start from the outside, you look at the perimeter. What exterior repairs need to be done? What needs to be done to the landscaping, to the exterior of the house? What does the roof look like? Well, maybe sometimes it's not the roof. The roof might be in good shape, but what about the soffit? What's underneath that, right? The soffit and fascia, maybe that needs to be done. And then being meticulous with walking in to the property and then tagging each one of the areas. When we walk in, one of the first things for me is looking at the front door. What does that front door look like? That's the entrance. That's where everybody comes through. If we're flipping a property, that's got to be dialed in. First impression. They pull up. Its first impression is I'm driving up to the house. What does it look like outside the front? But then as I'm walking in, I see paint on the threshold. We painted the door beautiful color, but then there's a bunch of spots all over the place or dripping paint. What impression is that going to give a client that is wanting to buy this property from you? Oh, there's wrong. Something's wrong. Let's now find everything else that's wrong. So it's being meticulous with those things. And as we're creating the scope, what this will help us also is on the back end, when we're doing a walkthrough and we're saying, we wrote down that we want a new paper, but how does it look like now? We know what it looked like before. Well, let's go and put the eyes of a buyer and say, now I'm walking this house. Now I'm pulling up like I'm going to buy it. What do I see? And maybe I'm too involved in the project because I've been there so much. So then I reach out to somebody else and say, hey, Alex, go walk that house for me because you've never been there before. You haven't seen it when it's done. Act like you're a buyer and go and walk this house for me. I do that all the time. Go check it out. Tell me what you think. And then they give me a list of a full another punch out list that I might have missed. But again, it starts with the front end stuff. And as much work as we put in on the front end, it's going to make it that much easier on the back end. Being very detailed with the scope of work. So now that we've gone bathrooms, we know we're going to do 2 bathrooms. What about this kitchen? What do we do to this kitchen? What does Harold do? So if we look at these cabinets and the boxes, and hopefully everybody understands the difference. The box comes with a door, it comes with shelves on the inside. That's what comprises a kitchen cabinet. It's a wooden box with a door and a shelf. It's not really complicated, right? So if you want to modify the aesthetic of a kitchen, you can rip out all those cabinets and put brand new cabinets in. Or if the box is in good shape, the shelves on the inside, everything on the inside looks good, solid wood, but it might just be brown. And these doors are old and they're flat and they have hinges and they're just dated. What we can do, and what we've done in the past, is we can send these bases out, or they can be done on site and have them painted and have them restored and brought back to life and or modernized by painting them white or black or whatever color of design or whatever your designer selects, but then coming in with a new door. A shaker style door. Right now, shaker style is what's in. So we would go and send our guy and say, hey, how much is it going to cost to change these 10 doors on this kitchen, paint the cabinets as well, and then reface the, or maybe we don't even reface, maybe we go in with granite or countertop, or quartz countertops. But sometimes what I've done with these Formica, if it's a rental property, he paints it and he makes it look like Calcutta. He makes it look like a quartz. He makes it look like granite. So he can reface countertops as well. He can do that in bathrooms. You got a vanity that's, the box, the structure's good and solid, but just the door needs to be replaced. Boom, now you're saving thousands of dollars. Versus us going in and swapping this out and maybe spending $7,000 or $8,000 to replace it. Now we're spending $2,000 or $3,000. So it makes it a lot more beneficial, especially if we're doing them as rentals. What else? We got a picture here of the garage. I mean, I've got on here, on the scope of work, garage. What are we normally doing to a garage? I mean, here in this one, you've got a bunch of shelving everywhere. What does it really look like? I mean, this looks like it's really, really old. Do we want to replace it? Do we want to maybe bring that back to life a little bit and have those painted? But in reality, it's garage door. That opener looks like it's on its last leg, right? And then what about the washer and dryer connections? That's always big. A lot of people miss that, and they won't update their washer and dryer connections. Or, I know I've seen it a lot, there's no dryer vent. Where's this going to exhaust to, right? Water heater, if it's in the garage, what does the water heater look like? That one, it's in the corner. Could it be? No, it's old, so it's got to be replaced.
Paint the floor.
Paint the floor. We like to go in with a nice dark gray, and maybe we'll throw some flakes on it just to give it a little bit of a pop. For us, we feel like people will come in and it gives them an opportunity to look at a space that can be used for just more than just parking car and storage. If it's nice, it's clean, it adds additional square footage, even though it might not be counted to the property. But man, I could put my gym in here. Or, oh, we can make this for an activity area for the kids. Right? It just kind of opens it up. But if it's all cluttered and nasty and you don't want to go into the garage, is anybody going to see that as a viable option for additional living space? No. So we definitely want to do, we do want to spend time on the garage. And then looking at the exterior of the property like we just talked about, Does this property have a pool, James? No pool, right? Does it have a nice backyard?
Not huge.
What would, in your opinion, be something that we can do to add value to a backyard without it having a pool? Flower beds, sod, and fence. What else? Anybody else have any other ideas? Decks,
Firewood.
fire pit. What about a playground set? What if we have a 3-2? And we know it's a newer neighborhood or a neighborhood that potentially a family is going to buy in. And we've done some homework on our demographic. Who's really going to buy this property? Costco has these playground sets for like $500. You take a little area, you know, maybe 10 by 10, put timbers around it, very inexpensive landscaping timbers. Put some nice felt down so you don't get a bunch of weeds when your kids are playing, and it's treated correctly. And then you lay down some mulch or even some artificial turf. And now you build this little swing set that when a kid or a family comes out in the backyard, they're like, this is it. This is where we're going to live. Because the kids are excited, and what do? They run off. And when they're back in the car, because I don't know if I've been there, I liked the house when we went to go see it, but then the kids are like, nope, I didn't like it, Dad. Or, oh, we love that house. That's the house. That's where we want to be. That's influence. Because I know me as a dad, if I'm hearing my kids get super excited about a house, I'm probably going to try to get it. Or I might want to make an offer on that one because the family, my wife loved the kitchen and she sold on the kitchen because it's got a tub. And the kids loved the backyard and all the different features that it had. Great. And all, you know, and it had a really, really nice kitchen and all the things that, well, see, now we're thinking like buyers when we're doing these flips. But how are we going to know all of those things if we're not thinking through them and then writing them down on a scope? That's why it's so important that as we walk through these properties as a flipper or as somebody that's building a rental portfolio, that we create detailed scopes of work, because now once we have all the details and we have measurements and we've been meticulous about doing that, it's going to save us so much time even after we close on purchasing. I know I've spent a lot of time in my career sitting there, going through Home Depot, setting up carts on Wayfair, doing all this, but what's the measurement of that backsplash? And I got to run out back to the property. Or I got to make a phone call, interrupt my guys while they're working. Hey, go get me that measurement. Oh, what's the measurement for that vanity? I forgot the size of it. What's the measurement for this? And now, not only is it bogging me down, and then I might be going through something I don't have the measurement for, and I might not get to it for 3 days. Now that delays the project because they don't have what they need. You see, but if I'm going through initially, and I'm saying, okay, I've got exterior paint. I took my little measuring tape and I walked all the way around the property, boom, and I know that I've got 1,800 linear feet, and I've got a height of 10 feet. Now I can calculate the square footage of the exterior of that property, and it gives me the interior square footage of the property as well. Now I can say, all right, it's going to cost me this to paint. And now if I have repairs that need to be made, what is the area of stucco? Now I can say, okay, it's $120 a square foot for every, for every stucco repair that we're going to do. So now I've got 80 square feet. Now I can calculate what my stucco repair is going to be. And if I have windows that need to be replaced and I have all the measurements of the windows, now I can send that as a package and get it off initially, because sometimes in Florida, we're dealing with delays. So these windows could take 4 to 6 weeks if they're special order windows. Now we've done that on the front end, walking inside the house, looking at, okay, we need baseboards. We did the linear feet on the outside. Maybe we do it again on the inside to determine how much baseboard we need. Flooring. Bathroom tile. If we have a tub, we know a tub's going to be 23 inches high. We have an 8-foot ceiling. So we know that from there, we're going to be looking at 6 feet of tile. But by how much surround? So if we've got 3 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet, now we can easily calculate that's 80 square feet of tile that we're going to need for the walls plus our 20%. Flooring, same thing. There's another 25 square feet. Now we're writing all of these things down in our scope and just being detailed when it comes to producing and providing ourselves the right information that we need in order to take it to the next step, which is now pricing. What do things cost? And I want to be respectful of the time here. Where are we at? Oh, 7 minutes? Okay. Wow. Okay, so real quick, let's go through this. I'm going to share this with you guys, and we can do it again next week if you like, or the following when we're back. But I put together a little cheat sheet. Where is my... Oh, this isn't me. Mm-hmm. Now we have project inputs. This is why I was leading up to making sure that we get all those measurements. And it's one thing, listen, and this could be the next class that we do, we're going to talk about how to quickly put together a scope just based off of pictures as we're making offers if we haven't gotten to the property yet. And we're going to be very conservative. We're going to go on the high end. But now this is we've got a property under contract. We've walked it. We have all of our measurements. We know exactly what we're going to do. Now let's take it to figure out some numbers. So we're going through and saying, okay, what is the total area of square feet? So we'll say 1,500. How many stories is the property? What's our ceiling height? Why is that important? Paint. So we have the linear of everything around. How are we going to determine the density of the walls and all of that if we don't have the height? So what's the ceiling height? Okay, standard 8 feet. What's the roof pitch? That can come into when we're estimating for roofs. We won't really go into that. You'll always have probably a roofer go out and measure that for you. They've got access to be able to do it with drones now and all kinds of cool stuff. But we can have it. The perimeter linear feet. We talked about that, going out and measuring the outside of the property.
Get that from property appraiser's website where they have the measurements for you.
Okay. Because what it does on property appraisers is it shows the exterior diagram or the diagram of the exterior. But what if there's added square footage that you're not aware of? You know, so that's why obviously go into the property. But initially, that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at property appraiser. We're going to do that in order to determine a quick, hey, this house is going to take $80,000. Then once we go out to the property and we can see it, put hands on it, get measurements, then that's when we come back and we start doing this detailed information. We're going to say 1,800. Lot size. Why would we want to know what the lot size is? Oh, and fencing, right? Perimeters. Standard lot size in our area here is about 8,000 square feet. Some are bigger, depends on the area, right? Walkway area. Sometimes we have walkway areas or driveways that lead up to a property. What is that? Why would we want that? Why would we want to do anything to that? Hey, but that's curb appeal, right? That's all about that initial presentation when you're coming up to a property. If the driveway's nice and painted, you know, everything around it has been landscaped and looks really fresh and clean, it just becomes more inviting. Number of bathrooms or number of bedrooms. This is a 3-bedroom, right, James? 2 bedroom. 2 bathrooms. Windows. We'll say 8 and for this because we don't know the exact, but now at least we know how many windows we have. And then we can put a unit price to that because there's a difference between impact and non-impact. If I'm in a flood area, I'm in a flood zone, I know that I'm going to have to put impact windows, which I mean they're required by code for any property. But in certain areas, you can get away with not doing impact windows, going with a lesser option, but then you can put window covers over it. Again, another option. Does it really save a whole lot of money nowadays? No. I'd rather just put impact everywhere. The amount of doors. Did we go in and count all the doors that we have? Why does that also come in handy later with doors?
Hardware, paint.
Hinges.
And you need a permit.
Hmm?
You need a permit for exterior doors.
Yeah. You've got to put those on there on permit, exterior doors and windows. Those all go on the same permit. Garage. Is it a 1-car garage? A 2-car garage? Kitchen cabinets. Linear feet going in and saying, okay, we have this dimension. We've got 10-foot run here and a 5-foot run here. And we have top and bottom. Now we can lay out our own design if we're ripping out the kitchen, or at least we can say if we're going to re-glaze, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's 10 boxes. And I'll build in a feature for that. Normally, I don't put it into this calculation, into this calculator, but I can build a feature in there for that as well. And then countertops. 25 feet or 25 inches in is about standard width of a countertop, but then what do that run as well? So is it going to be an L just like the bottom cabinets? Now I can determine what my linear feet are, or now I can determine what my square feet are. And now I can say, okay, well, I know my fabricator charges me $21 to fabricate the granite and to install it. Now, if I buy a slab for this price, I know this is the total amount of money that I'm going to spend for countertops in this kitchen. And that's where then we can be more selective and save money, because if I know that I have a budget for this property for a kitchen and I know that my guy charges me 20, well, now I can say instead of buying a $1,200 or $1,500 slab of quartz, I'm going to buy a $400 or $500 slab of granite, something level 1. If it's a cheap rental, now I'm hitting within that budget of what I've got for cosmetics. Vanities. How many vanities do we have? That can also go into, if we're putting new kitchens or ripping out and putting in a whole new kitchen, we can use the same type of cabinets that are shaker style in the bathrooms as well. We just dress them up. Put countertops, put the same kind of quartz, put a really nice fixture on it, really nice squared modern sink, and now we've got a vanity, really nice handles like we would in the kitchen, and now we've got a vanity that really pops, that looks really, really good.
That's typically cheaper than just replacing the vanity.
It depends. Depends on what you've got. Because if you've got a 30-inch vanity that you can buy at Home Depot with a top and everything, that looks good for $300, that's going to be cheaper. But if you've got double vanity with a cabinet in the middle, you've got a long space of 72, now go and try to find a double sink 72-inch vanity, even on Wayfair or something that looks good, $2,000 to $3,000. Compared to, we can get cabinets, quartz, fixtures, and all of that for probably less than $2,000. So that's that difference. That we just have to know what we're budgeting for. HVAC systems, again, for the most part, I try not to estimate those myself, but we have a quick calculation that's $5,000 or $2,500 per ton. And I think that's gone up a little bit recently, but I would just, part of the external team has to be a HVAC guy that's going to run out, because I can estimate in my numbers, because I just saw, oh, those units are bad. But you know what I didn't see? All the vent covers on the inside are bad. I'm going to have to replace those. All the ductwork on the inside is bad because it's been eaten up by rats. I didn't see any of that.
How do you measure the ton per size? Is it
500 square feet equals a 1 ton. So you've got a 1,500 square foot home, you need a 3-ton unit. 3-ton unit should be, with just replacing the machine, swapping out, not doing anything else, about 7,500. Easy, quick calculation, just based off of our pricing and what it's been. That's fluctuating though, that changes. Water heaters, how much time do we have left? 12:02. Okay, we're wrapping up now. So water heaters, and you guys kind of get it. So doing all of the measurements, doing everything up front is really going to give us the best results, because then we're going to be able to go in over here. And I'm going to share this with all of you, and we'll keep this training going. We can do it again when we get back to really dial it in. But as we're putting everything in on the front end, it's going to populate everything over here. I don't know why it's shortened out like that, but we're going to put unit costs. We're going to put the quality. And we're going to have all of our information in here dialed in to where it's just going to spit out numbers. And it's going to give us very accurate. So if we're looking at $1.75 a square foot for paint, now we can put that calculation in here and say this is what we're going to pay, and that includes material. If we're looking at $2 a square foot for flooring install, that does not include material. So now we have to budget for that and then say, okay, we're putting our own budget on this scope of $2. So what is that really? $4. But is it just $4? What about transition? People always forget, I might need a few transitions. That's extra. What if I'm doing LVP, but now I need underlayment? That could be another $400 or $500 in just underlayment. Not budgeting for that. So again, just being very detailed. Same thing with tile. If we're going in with tile, we go to take out all the floor that's there, and we're going to go back in with tile. What do we have to make sure? That the floor's level. We've done properties where we're going inch by inch, throwing down the level and making sure that it's level all the way through, because if not, then you've got a floor that's like this. When you put that tile in, or corners are up, one's down, like it just looks bad. But making sure that. What else do you have when you're buying materials for tile? Clips. If you're just paying labor, $250, and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna spend $2 in material. Well, is it really $2? But it could be $2 that you buy for the flooring. But are you anticipating your grout? Are you anticipating your thin set that you're gonna need? Are you anticipating your clips to level that out? Guys are gonna go and buy what they need. But if you're not budgeting for it, you see in every avenue of this renovation, cost can go up. So we gotta be very detailed, and utilizing tools like this and a resource like this, where we can go in and input all the values, I think will be very, very helpful. So on the next one, what we'll do is, we'll go and analyze one of our most recent acquisitions just based off of pictures. This is what I would like to do. Based off of pictures, and then run it through with all the measurements, with all the specifics, and see how close we were. And I think that's going to make us more effective at acquisitions and make us more effective as rehabbers, because we're not going to miss things, and we're going to come up with the right budgets. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to send this to everybody so you guys can start playing around with it. I'm going to make some tweaks to it as well. I'll send it to you as well, Matt. But it's just a really cool tool to utilize to go in and start looking at previous projects. Matt, you just closed on a deal. What did you anticipate the rehab to be originally? What did the rehab end up being? Doing that autopsy and say, man, I knew we should have done this, and that. Now going back and saying, if I would have done those things, how much more would I have spent? Or where could I have saved some money? Where could I have pulled back? And then really dialing that in, because now you just told me you're ready for your next flip. Well, you need to autopsy that deal, figure out what you're not going to do or what you're going to do, because a lot of times we have a real good win and we want to take those good things we did and then apply it to the next one. And that's how we're learning and learning and learning, because we're doing it all the time. On every deal, I want to do it. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What can we take from this positive, and what can we fix? So, cool. And then this scope, if you guys want me to send it to you as well, I can send it to you. It's pretty detailed. I mean, it's a quick, like when I'm out at the property, like filling out. And then there are scopes of work for lending purposes. And so, but those are just, we got to do all this front end work first. Because when you're doing your lender scope and you want to get paid correctly, you want to switch that up a little bit as well. So if we've got a bathroom that's costing us $5,000, do we want to put 5 or maybe a little bit more if it's going to be, hey, we've got to do all these different things. We want to kind of group all that together. So you're not just doing one bathroom and that was just for the tile, but it's for everything else that's related to that bathroom. And you put that into detail. Because sometimes lenders will allow you to request 50%. Hey, Duroc's in, it's demoed. The Duroc's in, the valves are in, the plumbing valves are in, and the floor tile's in. I just don't have the walls or the vanity yet. I need 50%. Okay.
What do they do, rough and then final?
No. It all depends on your description. and what you put in there, because you're setting the value of that job based off of what you're doing to it. So when you go to request a draw, you can say, division 10, which could be the 1 bathroom, and then I've got X, Y, and Z done, so I'm requesting 50% of that. And sometimes you won't. You'll wait till the whole bathroom's complete. But if you're in a pinch and you need a draw on that, why not? Why not put it in there and say, give me 50% of this? Hey, I've got 50% of the floor done. I need 50% of that to keep it going. Sometimes if we've got 10 or 15 projects going at once, we want to draw as much back as possible. And that's one of the tasks that even our PMs here, have to go out there and say, hey, this is what's done. This is what's done. We're following a schedule. We can look at it and say, okay, now all this stuff's been done. Great. Now we can draw on that as well. Now we can go out and recoup some of the money that we've put out there, because it gets heavy. If we're putting out labor and materials on 5, 7 houses at once, think about, you're fronting 10 to 15 grand each time. So what is that on 5? You're close to 75 grand out of your own pocket. And if you're not recouping that fast enough, now you go into another week and you've got the same thing again. Now that can turn into 150. What if you don't have the 150? Now you're stuck. But if that's 75 that you've now put out, the following week's coming back in, you've got another 75 to keep going and going and going. So, yeah. We can share a scope of work also for lending.